Hello, and thank you for joining me today. We are at the Hall High Career Center in West Hartford, and I have as my guests today 2 seniors from Hall High and 1 senior from Conard, here to present their entries as finalists in the Sylvia Davis Patricelli Fine Arts Scholarship Foundation Program. My mother, Sylvia, picture here, was an internationally recognized portrait painter from Sydney, Australia, and had her first exhibition in the U.S. opened by First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt in 1951 at G. Fox and Company. The exhibition was sponsored by G. Fox and Beatrice Fox Auerbach, WTIC, and the Wadsworth Athenaeum. You can see her career, life's accomplishments, and oil paintings at www.sylviadavisart.com. Selections from the various historical collections are available for sale in order to fund this scholarship award. The purpose of this interview is to determine the scholarship winner, for which a presentation will be made prior to the end of the scholastic year. And my first guest is Paris Phillips, who is a Conard High School senior. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.
Now, tell us, I know that you have 3 pieces that you submitted, and one is a pen and ink, one is an acrylic, and one is a charcoal.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of a description and your objectives behind each of those pieces.
Well, the charcoal piece is an observational drawing of a bust that I did in a classroom setting. And that was a piece to really show my observational skills because I've spent a lot of time practicing and honing those skills.
So that was within a school, a classroom setting?
Yes.
So everybody else was doing the same thing as well, or that you were doing that singularly on your own?
It was an observational assignment, so we had the pieces in the middle and we could choose, you know, which.
And the acrylic. It's an interesting piece. It shows a young man sort of with his leather jacket off his back. What was the story behind that one?
That piece was kind of a challenge for me because narrative is not usually a topic that I really delve into. It's something that I really struggle with, and with that I was trying to convey a bit of a story where you wonder what's happening, so there's kind of an action in play.
And then the pen and ink one, very interesting.
Yeah.
What inspired you on that one?
The pen and ink one, that was also for an assignment in a summer program where we had to do a Zentangle piece, and that's not something that I'd ever done before. So I chose to make a portrait out of it, and the Zentangle is kind of woven into the hair, and it's a very flowing and free-form pattern. It's very, very organic in its shape, and then I wanted to contrast those organic shapes with the face, which is very geometric, and I made that out of triangles and lines.
Now, in each of these cases, what was the period of time spent on each of them?
The charcoal one was around 5 or 6 hours because that wasn't a classroom setting. And then paintings take a lot longer because there's so many layers and color mixing, and there's a lot more planning that goes into it. So that one was more around 10 to 15 hours.
And you've done these all within the past year or so?
Yes, it's all within the past year.
Now, what has inspired you to get into the art field? I mean, did it start young? You know, and who has inspired you? Who has encouraged you?
Yeah, I always had an interest in art since I was really young. It's always something that I kind of gravitated towards, and I've had a lot of different hobbies over the years, but art has always been kind of the central interest that I've had.
Focus for you.
Yeah, and everything has kind of always come back to it.
Yeah.
And I've always had a lot of teachers through the years who have really encouraged me. My parents have always been really encouraging and put me in art classes since I was little because I had such an interest in it.
Yeah, the opportunity to do that. Now, what other awards have you won? Obviously, you have had. I mean, we're talking since what age you've been doing this? Since
really,
10,
really
8?
young.
Very
Younger
young.
than that, yeah.
Okay, oh, younger than that. All right. So, in looking at this entire career thing, it's really an extension of one's personality too. Would you not say that? I mean, the artwork
definitely.
itself is. And I think the enjoyment that it brings to you and hopefully to other people. So what other awards have you won?
I've won a painting award from Conard at our end of the year show. I've also won Progressive Photography Awards and Drawing Awards.
Oh, so you do photography as well?
Yes, I do.
You're very diversified.
Yeah. And a Drawing Award from the Greater Hartford Academy of the Arts.
And what other things have you participated in, whether it be summer programs or what other areas have you explored outside of the school?
I did a filmmaking apprentice program at Real Artways for 2 years. And that was a really great experience because it was kind of my first exposure to people my age who had a really big interest in art as well. And then I did the Center for Creative Youth at Wesleyan University, which is a 4-week residential program for artists. And then this past summer, I did the Hartford Art School's portfolio program.
Well, I see from the resume that you provided here, you've been accepted to many, many colleges, and you were waiting for one more, but you heard that was, and which one did you choose?
I chose the Cooper Union.
And what inspired you to do that?
When I first...
I mean, I saw Parsons School of Design.
I was accepted to all the schools I applied to.
Yes, yeah, they're phenomenal. But you felt that the one you chose, the Cooper, was your choice.
Yeah, I thought Cooper Union had a really unique program. Their
was
curriculum,
it the program or the people? Or
both. It was everything about it. They have a very unique curriculum in that it's very, they kind of focus on everything. You know, you're not allowed to concentrate in one thing. You have to be diverse and experiment in multiple things.
Where you feel well, you know what they say about artists, starving artists. So when you think ahead and you're talking about your career path, where do you see yourself going? Where will you use these talents that you have?
I mean, it's my dream to be a freelance artist, you know, making what I love to do.
And selling those pieces?
It would be great to, you know, be represented by galleries and be making things that I'm really passionate about.
Well, the creative fields, I mean, and sometimes you don't know what you're going to find as you have these experiences.
Right.
And probably during your college years, you're going to have opportunities during the summer maybe to travel abroad, which can also give you the opportunity to think about other things, other avenues to pursue or ways to learn, because you know what they say about great art is the more people in the world that understand it immediately and get the message, the greater the piece of artwork it is.
Yeah.
Because no matter what language you speak, no matter where you come from, there is some common denominator that appeals to people, like the pietà. People see it, they understand it, and it's a genuine talent that you obviously have in your diversification. You obviously are very dedicated to your work, and it's been a great pleasure having you here today. And hopefully we'll see you again, and we'll choose the winner. And best of luck to you.
Thank you so
much. All right,
much.
It's been a pleasure having you. I have now as my next guest Rachel Glucksman. She's a senior here at Hall High School, and pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.
Talk about your artwork. Talk about the various pieces that you have. Now, one of them is a very interesting piece. It's of Salvador Dali, and that's an acrylic, you said. So tell us a little bit what inspired you about that. He's well known. Most people will know him about his clocks that are falling off walls and so forth. So tell us how, was this something that you decided to do, or was this part of a classroom?
This was part of, in my painting class, we had to paint a person that I think that inspires us. And I love Dali's work. It's so different and it's so well done and chaotic and stuff. So I wanted to do something that was of him and kind of shows what his mind is going through. So I have like the way that he kind of disappears into the background and the various cracks and the weird misshapen figures, and
his objects are taking over the picture.
Yeah.
Now it's a very good. Now, did you do his face from photograph?
Yes.
It's a very good likeness of him.
Yeah, I think his face also contributes to his craziness a little bit.
Yeah,
So.
and his mustache and so forth. It's very inspirational. Now, the one that's particularly interesting, I think, also is another acrylic, and it's of a woman, obviously an African-American woman, and she's pouring the Clorox bleach over her. Tell us the story behind that one.
That one's for my AP art concentration. We have to do 12 pieces that are around like a central theme or idea. So I did social standards and kind of that society puts on people, and the extreme, maybe not so realistic, but like extreme measures that people will go through to fit those standards. So I know that like even in like makeup companies, they don't make certain shades, and like all these models aren't usually darker and stuff. And so it really just puts like this like stigma on women and the extreme measures that people may go through to get those off of them and stuff.
I think it's particularly true of women in general, speaking.
Very
I
true.
mean, because the visualness of a woman is such an important attribute to them. And so perhaps it's even more so on the female side of the African American than it is on the male. The male can have other things, other assets, as you will, if he's a good athlete, if he's very intelligent. But the physical part is. So it's a very strong message. Now, either of these two, tell us about winning awards about those. Did they win awards?
Yeah, both of them did. The Dali one in last year at the end of the art show, we had a juror come in, or a couple of them, and I got best painting for that, and for the school voted for it too. And then for the bleach one, I got a gold key at the Connecticut Scholastic Awards.
And these were all done this year?
Yeah, the gold key was this year, and the Dali one was last year.
Now, there's another interesting one, too. It's a kind of a kaleidoscope or a collage of various things. What does that represent?
Usually during class, to stay focused, I doodle on the sides of my papers, and some of them come out so cool, so I decided to take those off of the paper and put them on a big thing to kind of, in almost like a nostalgic way of high school for me, because a lot of it was doodling, so I kind of put those on a thing.
Yeah, so you have diversity in subject matter. I mean, there's a common ground in the medium in which you've worked, but there's diversification. What has inspired, how long have you actually been involved in the art area? I mean, is this a very young child, or developed recently? Well, obviously not recently, but let's say since you were a teenager. Tell us a little bit about who has inspired you and what has inspired you.
Well, when I was younger, picture books were obviously, like, for me a huge, like, I loved them, and when I saw them, I didn't see them and think, like, oh, those are really, like, cool. I saw them and I wanted to draw them. So specifically, like, the Spiderwick Chronicles books, they have all these illustrations with, like, long, lanky figures and cool hands and stuff. So I started imitating them, and I realized I loved the style and I loved the way that the artist did it, but I wanted to make my own. And that's really, I think, when it started as like my own thing, and I took cartooning classes, and then it developed to surrealism, and Dali was a huge inspiration to me. Yeah. And so it's kind of now like a combination of everything. And I love it.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. Well, when we talk about being involved in art, have you experienced other things? Have you attended other things during the summer, during the school year? Any other experiences that you've had?
Yeah, in 2 summers
ago.
Practical
Practical experience, I guess we might call it.
2 summers ago, I went to University of Hartford, and I took a 4-week class there. And we learned photography, film and digital, and painting and drawing and stuff. And then this past winter, I took more classes there with figure drawing and live models. And then this past summer, I spent 6 weeks at the Rhode Island School of Design for their pre-college program. And there I learned so much stuff, and it was really cool.
That was very exciting. Well, you have been accepted at a number of the colleges, and you've made a choice. Where will that be?
Rhode Island School of Design.
Okay, so that's an exciting thing. It's a very well-known college, and congratulations on achieving that. Now, when you look forward to moving on to actual real-world career path, tell us where you see yourself going. Now, it could change. It could change. Depends on what inspirations have and what opportunities come up. Have you actually sold any of your work yet?
I've commissioned a painting for my gym teacher of his daughter. Very good. And so I sold that, and a painting of oranges and other various fruits to, I'm actually not sure, my art teacher wouldn't tell me, but to one of his friends. So.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. All right, so when we talk about your career path going ahead, at this particular moment, where do you see yourself in the art world? Where do you see yourself contributing? And I guess why? And I say why because, as I said to Paris, my first guest, I said, you know, artists, starving artists, you know, kind of thing. So you do have to pay the bills, but where do you see yourself?
Well, for me, I'm not sure exactly where I see myself, but I know that I want to be a successful artist, and to me that just means making art that you care about, that you're proud of showing, and that contributes something to the art world. Like, obviously everyone imitates everyone, but just something that means something to people. And whether that means like working for a company or like doing something like Disney, making animated shows, or like selling my own artwork. Probably whatever I do, I'll sell my own artwork on the side, but it just has to be something I'm proud of.
Yeah. Well, it obviously gives you great pleasure.
Yes.
You've certainly accomplished a great deal. You have obviously a talent for bringing a message across. I think that comes across very, and it's so important, I think, for a painting, because it's not only got to be something that's decorative or someone wants to hang, but I think they want something that they can talk about. So it's been a great pleasure to speak to you today and have you on as a guest on Connecticut Valley Views, and I wish you a lot of luck going forward, and we'll certainly let you know who the winner is. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And now I have as my next guest, Jimmy Zhou. He is a Hall High senior. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Jimmy.
Thank you.
To talk about your work and some of the inspiration behind of it. We have 3 pieces that we have here today. If you can give us an explanation of it. Now I see there's food preparation. These are all oils, is that
Yes.
correct? All right. Now there's food preparation. They're apparently in a market, a food market, and then there's obviously in the kitchen, creating the product to be served. So tell us a little bit, what has inspired you about these 3 pieces? They're part of a larger series, I believe you mentioned. So tell us about them.
So, as you said, these are all part of a series. Sort of, it was like inspired by like when I was younger. I would often go into my like parents' takeout restaurant and just like eat the food.
Yes.
And I never really like saw how the food was made. I just like remember just eating it and it just tasted good. So, sort of, like as a high schooler, just like revisiting the space, like old space. And then like looking at it differently. So it was like I went behind the kitchen this time and just like talked to the workers, the chefs, and like see like the food making process. So the food market piece is sort of like how like they choose the food and like how where the food process begins. So after like the food, this is a painting of Chinatown's food market. So it's sort of like taking the food that's from like a certain culture and then bring it back to the kitchen. And then the second piece, like the asparagus piece, is like how they prepare the food. I thought it was important to like make it like realistic.
So it's a close-up, really.
Yes.
Here you're talking about the general purchase of the food. Here's a close-up of preparation. And then the third one that you have is obviously in preparation. That's a food worker in the restaurant?
Yeah, that's a chef, yes.
Okay. All right. So if you have, so it's a kind of a themed collection of paintings. Now,
yes.
have there been other pieces that you've done that have a different theme?
All of them sort of have, they're all tied together.
Okay. So it's all of one piece?
It's,
all of your artwork has this kind of a story to it?
For this series, yes.
Okay.
But I have done other series.
And what have those themes been?
So some of the other themes have been like for AP Art, I'm doing a concentration on the process of forgetting. So I like to work in series because it allows me to storytell without it being just one piece.
Yes, yes. Now, when did you start identifying the fact you had an interest in art?
Well, I always from a young age, I always gravitated towards the creative classes at school and stuff. But and entering high school, I wanted to pursue graphic design. So it wasn't until the spring of my sophomore year where I started. I fell in love with oils. I started painting.
What do you like about that particular medium?
There's this you're able to combine watercolor, this transparent through glazing, and then through oil you can also get the qualities of acrylic, the thickness. And I love the slow drying time allows me to really, I have to be more careful of what I put on canvas because it does take a longer time to dry. So if I'm trying to make
Yes.
deadlines,
Yes. Have you ever tried palette knife?
yes.
It's a very interesting
Yeah.
technique.
Palette knife, I use it more for like abstract art because
Yes.
there's this, you can incorporate more texture into it, and it's a different look.
Well, when you're looking at your process and next steps, have there been any way along the way that you've won awards that have inspired you to continue on this road?
I guess some of like the bigger ones that really have like motivated me to just like push myself more and challenge myself. I won Yale Peabody Museum's Teen Martin Luther King Art Contest.
Oh, when was that?
Like it was a portrait with palette knife
Yes.
of Martin Luther King.
Okay.
It was like, I named it The Unfinished Dream because it was sort of like, I had Martin Luther King looking towards the left with like a dove bird, and then it was abstract because it was like sort of like mixing the dove and like the face like merging.
Representing peace.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. What about experiences, practical experience? Have you done anything during the summer, attended summer camps, or?
I've taken classes at Avon, art classes there. I've taken classes at UHart, like figure drawing classes at UHart. And this past summer, I went to SVA's pre-college program.
With regard to mediums, now obviously you've spent a lot of time on oil. You've done the palette knife. Have you done anything else? You do sculpture, pen and ink, any other mediums that you've worked in?
So drawing, I've done drawing, figure drawing to help me understand the human form. I think sculpture plays a very important role in understanding the figure.
That's three-dimensional.
Yeah, I think it, like learning sculpture, it really helps me like understand planes on the face. Like really helped me like understand how to like carve or like draw the hand.
Yes, yes, because you've got to have dimension to, even though this is a one-dimensional piece, you need to understand what's behind it in order to draw it properly.
Yeah.
And I think that in some ways sculpture demands that you get it right from all angles in observation.
Yeah.
But in fact, you've got to make this look real when you're only working with a one-dimensional piece. Well, now you've looked at different schools that you're going to be attending. Have you made a determination yet as to which one you will be attending?
I have decided, well, it was kind of an easy decision because I've always wanted to go to the Rhode Island School of Design. So like it was my first choice. So getting in there, like I didn't spend much time looking at
Other schools?
considering because it was like my first choice.
So you're going to be going. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that acceptance. It's a wonderful school. Now, beyond that, when we talk about moving on to the real world, do you see a specific role for yourself using your artwork for real pay the bills kind of situations? So what would those aspirations be?
So ideally, it would be to like make a living out of just like art, fine art alone. So like painting, maybe sculpture. But I'm glad I was able to like learn graphic design freshman and sophomore year because I'm able to like, I've done commission work for graphic design. So I think when it comes to like paying the bills, graphic design, I don't mind getting a graphic design job or like photography.
And then still
Yeah.
realize your dream otherwise on the side. Well, it's been a great pleasure speaking to you. I congratulate you on all of your achievements.
Thank you.
Very much like your work. And I can certainly appreciate the oils because I'm used to my mother working in those for so many years. So thank you very much, Jenny.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you
Pleasure
here.
to be here.
And so now I'd like to remind you that you can see all of our programs on Facebook, and you can also see all of our programs at www.ctvalleyviews.com. This is Susan Regan. Thank you for joining me and bringing proof to the people. We are here this evening at William Hall High School at their Art Awards, annual Art Awards program. And it is my pleasure to announce the winner of the 3 young people that I interviewed for the award for the 2017 Sylvia Davis Patricelli Fine Arts Award Scholarship. Included here as a guest also is Rob Lowell, who is Rachel Glucksman's teacher. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit, what's most outstanding to you with Rachel?
Well, first of all, she is very focused. She's an incredibly hard worker. She has, I think, one of the strongest visual intelligences of any student I've had in a really long time. She's got all the pieces, and she's a great kid. So all those things.
Well, you've gotten a lot of recognition this evening, Rachel. What do you think of everything?
Oh, it's really great. I've been looking forward to the senior showcase for all 4 years, so it's really exciting.
And you're going to be going to what college?
Rhode Island School of Design.
So this award that I'm about to present is a $1,000 scholarship, which we're giving to her towards her tuition to the college, and it is my pleasure to give that to you on behalf of my mother's memory. So it's a pleasure. So we are very pleased to have this first annual award this year, and I thank everyone for their cooperation, particularly Jenny Bronson here at Hall High, who coordinated so much of the efforts put into this event.
Our veterans need your support. Foxfield Farm for a Recovery Mission is a not-for-profit organization that has been established to provide an equestrian groundwork training program for U.S. veterans with PTSD and related issues incurred through military service. This curriculum will be offered at absolutely no cost to any veteran participating in the program. This foundation will also incorporate the repurposing of rescue horses and locating new, responsible owners. The synergy of the work invested by the veterans to aid the recovery of these horses is equitably therapeutic. Please go to our website to be a supporter, www.foxfieldrecoverymission.org. Thank you.